Why would you not want more people to vote? Why would you not want shorter lines? I mean, it's just what we ought to be doing because it's first, it's people's rights as Americans. And secondly, we'll get a better government because of it.
Starting off with what even moved you to introduce this bill 2571?
I've filed this same bill for many years because I fundamentally believe that the more people who participate in our government, the better the government will be. For too long in Mississippi, we've made it hard for people to register to vote. We've made it hard for people to participate. Everybody knows our history, and I want to do better. And that starts with registration, online voter registration. More than 40 states, I think 40 exactly states, have online voter registration. Most states in the Deep South have online voter registration. And it's the way the world works in the 21st century. I mean, we passed mail-in voter registration almost 30 years ago, and we can do online voter registration.
There's also some mention in there about early voting as well, right? Can you talk about that?
Yes. Again, most Americans already have the right to vote early if they choose to do that. We need early voting. Again, it's completely safe. There's no fraud. You walk into the courthouse, or under my bill, a location designated by the board supervisors. There'll be a trained elections person there. Again, state law requires you to show your voter ID. Show your ID, you vote. Everything that we do ought to be based on the belief that we want people to participate. We don't need to put barriers in front of people. Early voting is what most Americans enjoy, and we need it in Mississippi. We especially needed it last year during COVID. But whether it's COVID or not, people ought to have the option. Things come up, and they ought to have the option to go vote for the candidate of their choice if they so choose in a period of, and I would suggest 2 or 3 weeks before the election. The other thing is it shortens lines to polls. A lot of people don't realize that. I mean, the more people who vote early, the less long you're going to have to stand in line on election day if you choose to vote on the traditional election day. Why would you not want more people to vote? Why would you not want shorter lines? I mean, it's just what we ought to be doing because it's people's rights as Americans, and secondly, we'll get a better government because of it.
And explain to people why it would not open the door for voter fraud, because some people would think, voter fraud, when you do the early voting, people can vote twice. Explain why that is not true.
It's not true because to vote early under my bill, you would have to go to the courthouse. You would walk past a sheriff's deputy. You would go to the circuit clerk's office. You would look eyeball to eyeball with a trained circuit clerk staff person. You would show your photo ID, and you'd get a ballot, or what I would like to see, a machine, and you'd vote on the machine. I mean, there is not the potential for fraud in that situation. It's hard to argue with some of these fraud claims because they're really, in our state, there's not evidence of that. So how do you dissuade somebody from a belief that they hold without evidence? I don't know. We passed voter ID a few years ago, and to me, that was the opportunity to do some of these things that we've been trying to do. Because when we were trying to do these things for years, we were told, "Oh, you can't do that; it'll be voter fraud." Well, now we have photo ID. Everybody has to show their ID. There's no reason not to do some of these things that we need to do.